Gig Gab, episode 508 for Monday, November 17th, Odd Socks Day 2025. I have odd socks on. Socks are kind of an odd thing. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians. Our sponsors today are one. It is GigSalad.com, and that's where you can go to create your free profile, because always be performing means always be booking, too. We'll talk more about GigSalad in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton, and my guest co-host today is returning to the show after many, many appearances here. He heard me talk about Waves plugins on 506 and started sending me all kinds of interesting ideas that we need to talk about. Plus, he's been up to a whole lot, mixing things, drumming, all kinds of stuff. Daniel East, thank you for coming back on the show, my friend.
Always a pleasure, Dave.
Thanks, man. You've done some fun gigs lately. You were playing with Brit Drozda?
Yeah, Brit's amazing. It's kind of crazy how that happened. I had a coffee with a friend of mine who was at the time playing guitar with her, and we got into this conversation. And he said, you know, I kind of need what you bring to the table.
Sure.
I said, what? He's like, you know, that like that little Philly soul backbeat thing, you know, and like we're looking, and I said, yeah, let's, you know, we'll go check it out. Had a rehearsal in this wonderful studio called Echo Beach, and great place, great room, great people, and everything just instantly clicked. And the part about it that was kind of crazy, and I was thinking about you and I was thinking about the show, because it's not my normal vibe of project. This is sort of Brandi Carlile meets Sarah McLachlan, Nora Jones kind of a thing on the mellower side, but with definitely the need for a little of what I bring to the table. So even though it's not necessarily the kind of groove that I would get into, I immediately turned into like just a great feel and a great energy with the other musicians. As it happens, as we're putting this together, two things. One is Brit has been working on her new record, which is going to be out in the spring, which is, I think, some of her best work, but it's also because a lot of it is a tribute to her brother who had passed away last year. And that's been an issue. But I always say that, you know, the hardest times make for the best music and the best performances. She's phenomenal, and the band is phenomenal. So in that time, the second thing that happens is my buddy who brought me in picked up another tour and said, you know, have at it. I can't do the gig.
So you were left without your buddy, and off you went.
Yeah. So the band is unreal. And this is another little element that you'll appreciate, is the fact that all of the players are tour musicians. Verona Rose, who's a great producer and musician, tours on her own, works with Emily Blaylock and a whole bunch of people. Also a first-class drummer.
Okay.
Alex Burgess is a keyboard wizard phenom, and just amazing. Insists on programming all his sounds analog. He wants everything to be authentic. He has the most unbelievable intuition musically. And then Sam King, who is also an amazing drummer, bass player, guitar player, does solo acts, does duos, does trios. He tours with the Steely Dan tribute tour and
nice.
Queen tribute tour and a bunch of other things. And together, this cocktail of individuals who separately play completely vastly different types of music, and are all drummers, kind of bring together this sound for Brit. And minute one, when this aligned, it was just magic. It was just incredible. And we did the first show at the Maltz Theater. It was sold out, and
Congrats, that's awesome.
And the audience was incredible. And we all looked at each other like at the start of the third song, like, this is something. This isn't a gig. There's something going on. And we all knew it. And you could see Brittany had this big smile on her face, and she turned around and looked at me. There are a couple of pictures of it. Turned around and looked at the band, and turned around and looked at the audience, and the audience just went completely nuts. And it was just amazing. And the thing about it is, for someone who's an artist like this is, I think, her 5th album coming out.
Okay.
Established, very musical, she plays keys and guitar. The new record is not just more personal, but in some ways it's more aggressive. So when we started getting into some of the parts and stuff, it lends itself really well to what we were doing live, and she was cool with having fun with it.
Yeah.
It's just a great show, great people. You know how it goes, man. And especially when it's in that size venue, a medium
how big? Yeah, medium size venue. Okay.
I don't know. It's theater, so somewhere a few hundred people, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not a big place, maybe 300 people. I don't remember.
I mean, that's pretty big, especially for a seated thing. Like, that's really cool. Yeah.
We got word that the advanced tickets went, and we had some radio support from the KVJ show, which is like the big morning show here.
Okay. Yeah.
And they were just awesome, because part of it was through the theater and part of it was through an organization that was promoting. So we had some promotional support.
Sure.
And it was great. I mean, these are really, really good people.
There's a lesson here that I think is really important. I mean, you kind of communicated it without highlighting it, and I want to highlight it, is that you took this gig and you said, it's not really my style. They asked me to do it, seemed like good players. I was available, kind of, why not, right? Let's see what happens. I think that is something all of us would be well served to embrace, this idea of take gigs. If a gig is offered to you, certainly if it is beyond your capabilities, or it's something that, do no harm, right? Certainly communicate like, wow, that's not the right gig. Like, if somebody called me today and said, I need you to fill in for my Zappa tribute tonight, be like, tonight's not going to be a good show for me on that. I'm going to need to spend some time in the woodshed to learn those tunes, right? But beyond the do no harm, taking gigs that are outside of your normal wheelhouse, not only do they wind up with scenarios like you described, where it's just like suddenly there's just magic and you realize, oh, wait, there's a whole different thing here that I didn't even realize was a thing. But you learn more things about your own playing by playing with other people that play different styles. And I remember the first country gig that I took, I did it because it was a friend of mine, and another friend, was playing bass on the gig. I'm like, sure, whatever. And I mean, it kicked my ass. First of all, not that those songs are technically, there's not a lot of flashy playing to do, but man, you got to stay right in that pocket. It's a different pocket than rock and roll. It's a different pocket than funk, right? Like, it is. And then the harmonies, everything has to be super tight. And it was like, oh my gosh, I like lessons that I learned on that gig. It stay with me till today. Like, and you might learn that you kind of like a style of music you didn't think that you liked, which is also fun.
Yeah. So. I learned years ago, I played with a band that went through members, because the front man had this incredible ear for talent. He would find these guys, and they would stay for a few years and then move on. And
sure.
One of them is, I won't even go through the list. It's an extraordinary list of people that have gone on to do major gigs, still doing it today.
Got it.
But I used to say to him, like, when he called me to come in and play, like, what do you want me to base my rehearsals on? He goes, nothing. He's like, you don't practice, you come in and you play. Whatever happens, happens. Because he believed that the mixture of everyone is what made one new sound every time. So this band had morphed into various carnations based on the personalities and the styles of everybody who contributed to it.
Yeah.
And as a result, the band had been around for, since the 80s, and
Amazing.
I don't know if they're still around. I haven't been in touch, but
Sure.
I know that everybody who's come out of that band is still playing and have all done extraordinarily well. And those are the experiences. And to your point, and I think anybody listening would appreciate the fact that don't say no to a gig because you don't think it's your style. Don't say no to a gig because you might not know the material. What can happen as a result of the missing piece of the puzzle, and that could be you, can turn it into something that might take it to a next level, to another level, to a higher level, whatever. People come and go. That's any band. You've talked about that on the show millions of times.
That is a constant. That's right.
It's the life we live.
Yeah.
However, when the magic dust settles and you go, like we had on stage with Brit, you have that moment of, oh yeah, this is something.
Yep.
It's okay. This is, we are more than the sum of our parts here.
And is something,
try it.
There's something magical that often happens, not always, when you get a group of musicians together for a specific new project, right? I mean, I know like she's been doing this for, she's got 5 albums out. Obviously, what she's doing isn't new, but this lineup of people all coming in, like everybody's coming in knowing that it's not just an ongoing thing and you're just swapping people in and out, which also happens. But when it's like there's an intention of, okay, I've assembled this group of people, some of whom you might have played with before, some of whom you might not. We're all going to do this one thing together, and then who knows what happens after that, right? And it's what, like that Thriller gig that I do, like the Diaspora stuff that my friend Stu does. Those are very intentional things, even though it's a lot of the same musicians. Everybody comes in with sort of beginner's mind about how to approach this material that certainly we collectively have never done before, and maybe none of us have ever played. Like that Taylor Swift thing was, that I recently did, or like I'd never played those songs before, right? And neither had most of the people on stage, and so pulling it all together, and like those I call them one-off gigs, and sometimes they're not one-offs, but the initial sort of assembly of skilled musicians. It's not the initial assembly of 14-year-olds in your basement and you're trying to figure it out together. That's also cool, but we don't get to repeat that anymore. That's a one-time thing. But we do get to repeat this thing by being open to taking these other gigs that come in and challenging ourselves. Yes, stepping outside of I'll call it our comfort zone, but it's just our normal wheelhouse. Yes. And there's something nice about the comfort zone, don't get me wrong. But I really, there's magic. And I know that word keeps coming up. You've said it, I've said it, but
it's true. It's that intangible thing. It's because when I was working with record labels, they used to talk about, you'd hear a song and it make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, or but there's another piece to this too, because at a certain level where, like in this case, I knew the people that had worked on the sessions with her, drummers that I know, and you want to be respectful of what they did as well. And
of course,
when the person who's the artist says, have at it, and I know what I hear with the producer hat on. If I have producer hat on, I go like, okay, well, let's think about this. What is the logical step? How musically does this make sense? And then there's that point where, okay, I'm not going to think about this. I'm going to let instinct and intuition
just going to play.
Over.
Yeah.
And it's a vocabulary. It's a conversation musicians have. I know it sounds really tacky to say that.
No. There's a musical conversation that happens. Yes.
And that everybody has that little like telepathy thing. And when you make the changes and everybody's with you, man, that's like the best feeling. It's a great feeling. Now, there's another thing too, and I'll try to do a little segue here.
Okay.
One of the things that's been kind of cool as a result of this gig, and all the stuff that I've been doing over since we last spoke, I love the people I get to play with. I've had some great fun playing with some amazing players, and as it happens, because of being in Florida, people come through and in town, and it's really amazing to run into people who are very recognizable and great. But I wasn't really doing enough to approach the companies that I work with as an endorser. as you and I have talked separately, I have had an issue with drumsticks for a very, very long time, to the point where the company that I had been with for many, many years, when they went out of business, they chose to, it was a family business, made these magnificent sticks, the Hornets drumsticks that I love.
I remember those. Yeah.
When they decided to go another direction, I think in a lot of ways because business has gotten beyond what they could do, I got very frustrated. Talked to all kinds of sticks, every manufacturer out there, IP, Invader, and everybody, Los Cabos. I went to Promark and finally found a stick that I knew would not be discontinued. I like a longer drumstick and everything.
Okay. Yep.
And they were wildly inconsistent. And I played with them for years because there was no other option. I was looking through my emails and was trying to find a contact for one of the stick companies because I knew I had this gig with Brit coming up.
Right.
And I found this email that I had forgotten. I met these guys at NAMM a few years back, headhunters. And if you know the headhunters guys, it's like a bohemian lifestyle, the coolest, sweetest, nicest. This guy Dave could not be a nicer guy. And the quality of their stuff it's all Canadian maple or bamboo. It's very, very good quality. And I was like, okay, the universe is telling me, let me just see what happens. I sent him an email, got right back to me and said, hey, you know what? Give me a call. I want to know. I want to understand what you're after. Got on the phone. I tell him what's up with this gig. I say, I need, you don't have anything like hot rods. He goes, hot rods? He's like, you don't need hot rods. I have something way better. And he proceeds to tell me about the 8 models of bundle sticks that he's developed.
Really?
And then they all have very interesting, fun names like doobies and spliffs, and marketing is fantastic. And the difference is that unlike the other brands of these bundle sticks, these are built to have a core. They're built to be more rigid. They don't get destroyed the same way.
All right, so let me tell you what I'm seeing here, folks. It most of the time, and if you're not a drummer, you might not have really looked at these bundles like this before, but instantly at looking at the picture of like these doobies or the spliffs here or the bing bongs, but the spliffs especially, no, it like most of the time. Bundle sticks, you see the tiny little sticks around the in the bundle, and the bundle is full of all of those tiny little rods, right? And you have a little little O-ring that you can kind of set to how tight you want the rods to be kept or whatever, and that's fine. But they lack definition by nature of it being a bunch of these tiny little sticks. You mentioned these
shatter.
And then of course they shatter.
Like if you get 3 songs, if you hit even remotely hard.
Yeah.
Now there's a difference, by the way. These have not maple either.
These have a core in the middle. Correct. With the bundle around it. And depending on the model that you get, the core could be different. The spliffs it's essentially a drumstick split in half down the middle, or a circle split in half down the middle. The doobies, it's quartered. So you're getting, I imagine, different not weights, but different core strengths, I guess would be the thing.
They have a model that looks like linguini that's on another page. And
yeah.
So when we had this conversation, I said to Dave, listen, I just want to try them. I'll happily buy them for whatever they cost.
Sure.
And if it works out, if you have an interest, he goes, and this was amazing. He's like, oh, I remember who you are. And he proceeds to tell me all this stuff because I had been to the booth so many times.
Yeah.
I get this package in the mail. The sticks are incredible because what I had described to him, he sent me the correct model. It matches my specs, diameter, length, weight, which is key.
Weight is key. The balance.
XL, right?
Yes.
Everything works out. I'm blown away how the finish on the sticks is just gorgeous. And I'm thinking, okay, these trees in Canada, you do where you are, but they don't exist in a lot of places anymore.
Sure.
So he then tells me, well, the bundles, some of them are bamboo that don't have the outer casing of the actual tree itself removed, so it increases the strength of it. And I'm like, this is great. I sent him a note back. I was like, I don't know if you're looking for an artist involvement, because I am happy to let you take my money. Like,
sure, yeah, of course, yeah.
He said, send me your stuff, and we'll talk about it. And we signed right away.
Congrats, that's great.
To have that, it's been the piece of the puzzle for stuff for me.
It is such a thing for drummers, man. And I think a lot of it is what you started with and trying to kind of, get back to that at times. I went through a similar thing I used Capella sticks for a long time because my local drum shop was a Capella authorized dealer or whatever. Mm-hmm. And their sticks were weighted the way I got used to. I loved them. And then when I moved, I stayed in touch with Capella and wound up endorsing them. And then I had completely forgotten that I asked them once when they sent me a pack of sticks or whatever. I was like, next time, can you add more glaze to them? Because I think I might like that. And I did. And it was great. They're like, okay, we put it on your profile, the 5B, we'll add more glaze. Okay, fine, great. And I had forgotten about it. And then they went out of business. And I spent years. I talked about it on the show. I had a local guy actually make me sticks. He said he had gotten the same knife that Capella used, and he did. It was the right tip and all that stuff. But he didn't want to glaze them. He was like, I don't like shellacking them. It's bad for my health or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, fine. But then now they're not the same. He's like, no, coat them with beeswax. You'll like them. Okay, fine. They were okay, but no. And then Vic Firth, the search continued, right? Vic Firth came out with these 5B double glaze. Now, mind you, at this point in time, I had forgotten that I had asked Capella to ever do a larger glaze on my sticks. And I got him, and it was like, oh, it feels like home. This is what I wanted. And eventually I reached out to the folks at Vic Firth and talked to them about it. And they're like, yeah, our 5B is it's the same knife is the Capella 5B. It's the drumstick industry is about 12 people or something that all kind of work in different places.
The factory in Oregon that builds the first sticks builds for almost everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So and I mentioned that I'd had these glazed sticks, and we had a note from Capella about double, so that's why we tried it, and it was good. It was like, hey, I did that. That was me, right. But that's how small the industry is. Yep. And thank goodness now the sticks that I want are being made by a company that is likely to last, named Vic Firth. So
that's how it went with our beloved pitch slap buddies.
I know.
Yeah,
I do know.
For Pearl, I was part of that deal. And the Sonic Boom cajon that Pearl made that was on The Voice every week was a pitch slap cajon.
Yep.
And I still use it. I used it with Brit. I used the kid slap.
I have 3 pitch slap cajons within arm's reach here, Dan. And I use them all the time. And I've stayed in touch with those guys. They made me another one last year, but it took 6 months for it to finally happen because they're involved in other things, Yeah. So now anytime I think about it, it's maybe I should just order another one. Well, someday I'm going to put my hand through one of these things for no fault of the instrument.
No, you won't.
I probably
that's the scary thing.
I haven't yet. I haven't yet,
dude. Yeah. On this last date that we had, there's a song. I believe it's Brit's song called Ribbon. I want to say maybe it's not Ribbon. I can't remember. But there's a part that has a weird hand clap in the studio version. And then there was this other sort of mixed percussion thing.
Yeah.
And I said, if I use a mallet on the kid slap, which is a drum, by the way.
Yes.
The kid slap, which is a little teeny little lap cajon that the pitch slap guys made for me, it's going to be kind of close. And it's the multi-limb test was using the cajon with the mallet, and I like you said, I thought for sure I am gonna blow right through this thing. Mallet, I'm gonna destroy this thing. Nope.
Yeah, it has laughed. It lasted. It no question.
They do amazing stuff. Anyway,
it really well built, but I know that my ability to get them is not something that will last forever. So I anytime I have the opportunity, it's like, yeah, send me another one. Here, take my money.
Yeah. I miss those guys. They're great. I heard from Jeff not long ago.
That's good.
They're great people, man. They really are. So,
yes.
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah.
It's been pretty amazing. I'm thrilled. It was just very exciting to feel like there were good things about all these things with these gigs happening, and you can't ask for better than that, you know.
I couldn't be more excited for you, and I love that.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. We have a bunch to talk about, including getting nerdy with plugins, which will probably entertain at least two of us, and I hope educate many of you about how to use plugins live. I know I did some of it a couple of weeks ago and actually have already gotten some good feedback about that. So you're gluttons for punishment, folks. But I promise we won't do this all the time. What I do want to do, though,
of feedback.
It's good kind. Yes. Although there is the Feedback Hunter plugin that we will talk about.
Yeah.
I want to talk about GigSalad, which is our sponsor, because we talk a lot about, always be performing here, right? But to perform, you've got to always be booking. And that's where GigSalad comes in. So it doesn't matter if you're a solo artist, a mariachi band, a regular band, a DJ. GigSalad connects you with event planners across the US and Canada who are actively looking for talent like yours. They match it all up. It doesn't, all kinds of things, weddings, parties, corporate events, all the gigs that keep you playing and getting paid. And what I really love about GigSalad is how easy it is. You set your availability, you filter for the gigs you want, and then you can message and quote right on the platform. And here's one of my favorite parts. Clients pay up front, so your money's guaranteed, right? That part alone deserves its own standing ovation. And where GigSalad also shines is their Google presence. They have figured out how to make sure they stand out on Google. It's huge. And what that means is that when planners go searching for live music, your profile on GigSalad shows up. That kind of visibility is the thing that fills your calendar instead of, your inbox with, hey, are you available on Friday to play at exposure o'clock? There's none of that stuff. We even had GigSalad's Mark Steiner on the show here earlier this year, GigGab 42. I'll put a link. And he shared just how much work their team puts in to make things easy for us working musicians. So go to gigsalad.com and create your free profile today. This costs you nothing to get started. And you can, their free plan, you can use as much as you want. And then there are, plans where you can level up if you like to. So gigsalad.com. Make sure to tell them GigGab sent you. There's no coupon code to use or anything because it's free to sign up. But make sure to tell them GigGab sent you, because the more you always be performing, the more you'll always be booking. And our thanks to GigSalad for sponsoring this episode and making that happen. All right, Dan, what are we up to next here? Should we, let's talk about plugins. We're here. We teased it up enough. The idea that you had as we were kind of concocting the agenda for today's show is using plugins live, which sort of feeds into what I was doing a couple of weeks ago, because I'm using I do this show live. I have to hear myself live. So latency matters a ton, that whole thing. And I talked about it. It's hard to share it because if you're not the one hearing it, you don't know. Like if I had 50 milliseconds of latency to my signal here, all of you will be like, well, there's already days of latency between when you recorded it and when it came out. You won't notice. But in my ears, drives me crazy. And even, in live performance, you want everything time aligned. And so picking the right plugins and only the necessary ones is kind of the key to what we're going to talk about here. So you got some plugins to mention. And I have a lot of these loaded up. If it makes sense to use them in a way that we can highlight them, we're going to try. So
Definitely.
Where do you want to start?
So let's start with a couple of pieces to this for anybody who's thought about doing this and they're not sure if they can.
And when we say this, I want to clarify what this is. We're talking about using plugins in your live mixing rig. So if you're
Right.
that you're mixing front of house for something, or your front of house engineer is mixing for your band, the plugins can be used there. It's not just for your DAW when you're recording tracks at home. You can use plugins live. We've talked about it on the show before for sure. But so that's what when we say
it's
that's
not,
this.
and it doesn't have to be a huge gig. I mean, I'm not trying to sell this as a great idea. I'm saying it's doable when it's done right.
There you go.
If you have, most current digital mixers, and it's on the show all the time. Dave always talks about different consoles and stuff. If you have a good, decent console that's digital, that's recent, that has Dante either built in, or you can add Dante to it, which is the network that, you've talked about, the Cat's Ass connectors and all that stuff. It's basically the same idea, either with the Dante card or if it's built in. Your MacBook Pro, a switch, and your cables. Those are the three things that you need to do this. So if you're playing in a room where you bring your own PA, if it's a PA on a stick or if it's a small rig or whatever it is, and you still want to make sure the room sounds good, you can use a couple of plugins to make your life a lot easier and save lots and lots of time, and ultimately sound better, because that's the key.
That is the key.
Sure you sound great. You don't want to have to worry about what it sounds like when you're playing. If you're playing, you don't have an engineer. Even if you do, the last thing you want to think about is tech stuff. You want to be in the moment and play your gig and have a good time.
Yep.
So it's pretty easy. And now Yamaha has this, my favorite little mini console, the DM3D. For $2,000, this thing has all the muscle. It's a 96K super sound, amazing pre's in this thing. The mic pre's are amazing. All the processing, everything, and it has Dante built into it. So for whatever it is, $2,200, the thing is incredible, and it's teeny tiny with faders. It's fantastic. That's piece one. Piece two is the software. So and
just so everybody, I know you talked around it a little bit, but what Dante does is it allows you to send your audio over a computer, an Ethernet cables, and that makes life way easier than having to run all kinds of things. Imagine if you had to take every channel out of your mixer and run it into something that fed into your MacBook Pro and then feed it back. That's what Dante does,
right,
in a nutshell. So
if you want to do a live stream, let's say you're doing a gig and you want to live stream to another mixer, or you want to do your ears and give if the house system that place you're in has Dante, they can then tag on a split. It's a complete.
It would be split. A much easier way to do a split than using a splitter snake. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Thank you. Okay,
and I mean, look how tiny this thing is.
This mixer's
teeny tiny, and it's
got faders if you need them. Yeah,
and the touchscreen is gorgeous, and it just sounds great. It just sounds great. I don't know what else to say. That's my first priority. You do your ear mixes on this thing. Send your split to the house. You love life. I'm telling you, it's a great piece. I love it. Anyway, the other side of this is the software side. So Super Rack Performer, you have whatever plugins you want, when they're of course always on sale. You need your
just so everybody knows, Super Rack Performer is the software that you would run on your laptop to host all of these plugins for this Dante in and out signal, right? Correct?
So let's just put it in a nutshell, because I know when I listen, I'm like, okay, let's get to the point. Like,
yes,
I you know how much I yell at you when you're not in the room. So out the door,
you're not alone.
out the door. If you want to talk about a return on your investment as a musician, and you really want to have some pieces, and we'll talk about the plugins, but if you want to have the return on the investment, you can build this whole rig, including a recent MacBook Pro, a new one, really. If you did an M5, you could do this whole thing for $5,000. Everything. Okay.
Including the mixer, everything.
Out the door. Like with the plugins, assuming they're on sale, and they're always on sale.
But if you've got, yes, that's fair. And I've got links in the show notes that will get you the plugins on sale, and they're also affiliate links for me, so I make like a little bit, but it's more about getting you the right deals. So they partner with us on that.
Yeah, it's worth looking. It's worth watching the videos because Waves has done a great job. I want to talk about just their more recent stuff because
Great.
their AI stuff is killer. But I'm going to shorten this as best I can. Number one,
and I will help you shorten it even more.
Well, we are notorious for this after all this time, Dave. So here's the thing. When they tell you the system requirements, the minimum system requirements, triple them. Like they tell you can do 16 gig of RAM. No, you want at least 32, if not more.
Sure.
Okay. If you can do it.
But I think I'm going to stop you here. I don't want to get into those weeds. I think the right place to start is with what you have. If you've got a laptop that can support this and a mixer that can support this, use what you have. 100%. And then if you need to upgrade, you'll learn very quickly if you need to, but you might not. And hopefully we'll teach you not to use too many of these plugins at once. And that's the thing that would make you need to upgrade. So don't use your MacBook Pro, use your mixer with Dante or with a Dante card. And now you get Super Rack Performer, which at the moment is $99. And that's the app that lets you host these plugins on your Mac or your Windows machine.
And by the way,
and now we're going to talk about plugins.
Well. Just so
right. You know, it doesn't have to be Waves plugins. Yeah, that's right.
So, but there's one more component to this, and just my personal experience. If you're going to do this and you are running whatever existing hardware you have, the Intel Macs don't love to do this. You can do it. They will run it.
Again, I'm going to stop you right there.
But wait,
just go with what you have.
No. But let me make my point on this.
Okay.
Because I agree with you. You want to use what you have, know what you're capable of doing, because the temptation is always to add on. Sure. I will say this. If you're going to make the leap in to this, and you believe that what you have is a need to do this, whether it's your rig or somebody else's rig, and we'll talk about why in a second, it's a real investment, and the newer hardware, you will get many, many more years to come, because the most basic new M5 is still going to be much, much more powerful than anything that came before it.
Sure.
So you don't need the top of the line. You just need the hardware that'll support it. Okay. Now, when you walk in the door and you have your rig and you set it up and you ready to go, Waves has some really cool stuff you can do. First, you have a system tuner. You can use Tracked, set up your mic, and it will tune and time your PA for you. Boom.
Automatically.
You set it, let it do its thing, you're tuned. You can go in, you do a few preferences here and there, but it lets you know that based on whatever venue you're in at that moment, you know that you're starting from the same point. The system is tuned the way you know it. That's number one. Number two is you can use...
That's $399 for that plugin.
And this is all under that 5,000 umbrella I was talking about.
Yep.
Okay. This is out the door. And that's okay. Now, then you have Feedback Hunter. So if you're using wedges or if you're using whatever, in real time, you can run through your stuff, and this thing will actually seek and destroy without creating destructive latency and other issues, unless you're blatantly trying to drive the thing into the ground. It does a fantastic job of bringing back your feedback. Allen and Heath in their new Q mixers has this built into it. They have a feedback in their new little the rack unit and their smaller Allen and Heath consoles. They have this built into it as well, and they have a
Feedback Hunter is $99. Just to say that out loud.
So here you go. You know that every time you're ready to go and sound check, that your system is consistent. Your sound as an artist, as a band, or whatever. You know that gig to gig, your starting point is the same. That's a huge benefit, because people will talk. Nobody knows the difference in what your snare sounds like. I wish they did.
No.
They want to know, can I hear the voices? Do I wince? What's bothering me? No, they shouldn't have to think about any of that, and they won't. This makes it really easy.
Great.
So that's a good point of making sure that everything is consistent. And by the way, this works great on almost any system. I've tried this on full line array systems, down to a little. We just had a little portable rig, a Turbo Sound.
Yep.
6 boxes aside, the JBL series, like anything. You're standing out there. If you know that you have it set you know that your jumping off point is consistent. That's great. Okay. What do we do from there? What's your mixer? If it's the Behringer, it's Allen Heath, whatever it is.
Yep.
When you have your vocal set up, and I tell everybody this the same, only use what you need. If your console can do it, get your mix together first before you even touch the plugins.
Okay.
That way you're not doing anything destructive. When you start doing hard EQs and stuff, by tuning your system, you shouldn't really need to do a whole lot. Microphones are made to amplify voices, so
that's what they do.
You're pretty good. You're direct out from your line 6 or your whatever it is, your keys, your drums, whatever it is. You've chosen the mic specifically because you like the sound of them. Reproducing that sound should take the least amount of effort. So you sweet spot your mics, you make sure everything sounds good, and then you go like, okay, whoever's mixing, whether it's you or somebody else, your engineer or whatever, what do I hear? What am I missing? What's bothering me? Vocals are the most important thing. I don't care what anybody says. As a drummer,
vocals are the most important thing.
If intelligibility and warmth, and you don't get that little feel of emotion, if you can't hear the emotion in somebody's voice or the scream or the rage or whatever it is. So I will say reluctantly, because I fought it. The Silk vocal plugin, this AI plugin, which was one of the earliest AI plugins that Waves put out, and we're kind of sticking with Waves here. There are other manufacturers, obviously, but for the purposes of Waves, this is an AI plugin that's sort of like a channel strip, kind of. It's a dynamic EQ that does its own. It looks for your peaks and valleys to give you a very nice, clean, flat vocal. Okay. It has a high pass filter. It has a little bit of gating and a little bit of compression built in. Like all Waves plugins, and I think Pooch said this to you, and I think a bunch of people have said this to you, try the presets first. They give you stuff to play with. Play with it. Yep. They have a male preset and a female preset, and then within that, they have all kinds of variations. Like any plugin, use it until you hear it and then back it off. You've talked about this a million times on the show, I know. But use it until you see just enough of a correction, a few dB, and you know what it's doing.
Yep.
There's a live version of this that's included in it, which is the user interface is dark that they give you with it. I believe they still do. And A/B it when it's bypassed and engaged, and you will not believe what AI does in this case. You have now solved the majority of your problems, because if your singer has like a 900 hertz little scrape that comes out, it doesn't remove it. It takes the edge up, because their character of their voice is the character of their voice.
Right. But it smooths it out just enough to, wow.
Your high range is when you say your de-esser, by the way.
When Dan says AI, what I want to point out is most, including like, Claude or ChatGPT or any of those, most of the things that we call AI these days are pattern recognition and pattern matching. That's it. It used to be called, 5 years ago, we called it machine learning. Even 3-4 years ago, we called it machine learning. Now we call it AI. And what it is you take a ton of examples of something, right? So, if you want to teach it how to find bananas, you send it, 100,000 pictures of bananas from different angles, different colors, different whatever. And it, these machine learning algorithms go through and learn what the common traits are of all of these examples that you've sent it. And then you feed it other stuff and say, match it against those patterns. And it's like, oh yeah, here's the example. And what's cool about machine learning is it takes a lot of horsepower to process those 100,000 examples of a banana, for example. But once the result of that pattern matching is created, it takes very little computer horsepower to take a new picture and compare it against this known set of characteristics and decide, is this an example? Is this a banana? Is it not hot dog, right? For those of you Silicon Valley fans. So apply the same thing here to what Silk is doing. And I'm making assumptions here. I have not talked to Wave specifically about this, but it's got to be doing this because otherwise it couldn't. They have fed it examples of probably good and bad sounding voices. And it's subjective, but our human ears are consistent enough that it can get consistent enough. And they did the same thing, hundreds of thousands of examples. And now you get the characteristics in here and you can choose, like Dan said, male, female, etc. So thank you for the detour. I just wanted to, AI gets a lot of, it's overused as a term right now. And there's a lot of good things that are in there, and this is one of those things. So it's not like your computer is going to come to life and become sentient and all that stuff just because you're using an AI plugin. It's just machine learning, folks.
No,
it's all good.
It's nice to be able to save a preset and sort of teach it your voice. Having the de-esser component built in is great. And I'll tell you my little trick that I do with this. And if anybody's using Silk, you tell me your trick. First of all, the live version is a little leaner, so it's not quite as profound an effect.
Sure.
But what I do is I take the mix blend of how much of the effect, and when I get it again where I can hear it, I'll leave it, and then I'll take my mix down to like 85, 90 and just let it live there, because we want our brains to hear the realness. Yes. There are going to be moments that are a little pain. There's going to be a little bite in somebody's voice, so there's going to be a little chest throatiness. You don't want to neuter it. You want to just take the edge off.
Right.
I tend to really, really like this thing a lot. Now, here's my other trick with Silk. And I've shared this with every time I go and I train people or I talk to other guys. Silk Live works on stuff that isn't a vocal. I've used it on acoustic guitar in the male vocal setting. It is bliss. It is absolute bliss. You have to finesse it a little bit. I have actually used it on my 8-inch snare. It is phenomenal because what it does is that it finds the without removing anything, it finds certain inconsistencies in the overtones that reduce the need to go crazy on EQ or crazy on makeup gain or anything else. It gives you a really beautiful sound that sounds like the drum that I bought the drum to sound like. I try Silk on anything. It's just
what's interesting, and you won't hear this if you're on YouTube, but I was using Silk on your audio just now as you were talking, and it really does help. Kind of like you can pick low, mid, high. How much smoothing is it going to do? And then adjust it and off to the races. And I think it makes it. I think it made a difference. I've turned it off now, folks. Just so you. Yep.
It's pretty cool. So that's piece.
Right, I'm turning it on again, just so you hear. Go ahead.
It's just so I can hear it again. Okay.
There, now it's on. Yeah.
It's really lovely what it can do. And I find that when I've gone into some of the big churches that have these massive systems, that it allows the emotion to come through for the worship leaders as well. So it's not just for headbanging, and it's not just for singer-songwriter. It's not just for R&B. It's not just for anything, jazz, whatever. What it does makes your voice sound more like I'm standing in front of you. And that is always my goal.
I was just going to say, as I'm tweaking this and figuring out how to use it on your speaking voice, I turned off the low and the high. I don't need it attentuating that for you.
No, especially on this mic.
Right. I needed attenuating the mid, and attenuating is the wrong word. Smoothing out the mid, which is exactly what it's built to do. And once I dialed it in, I've got you, like I said, low and high are off, mid is on, and I've got you at 49. And again, you won't hear this on the YouTube side because Dan's audio is not coming through me on the YouTube side, but on the audio show, you'll hear it. It's smoothed out. I'm gonna leave it there until we're gonna mess with other things. So
it's pretty cool.
It makes it brings your presence way up. This is really nice.
it always feels to me more like I'm standing directly in front of the person, not amplified. It always feels more like real. I don't know how to explain it. It's the way that your mind's eye hears, I guess is the way to put it. Anyway, moving forward, because there's some other stuff.
It's the way your mind's eye hears. All right, keep going. It is.
I'll
leave Silk on until I have to turn it off, which will happen right away.
In the interest of time, let's go to the L4 because
I
have been waiting for this thing. For the longest time, Waves has been known for the L1, L2, and L3 maximizers.
Before we get too far away from it, Silk is less than $30. It's $29.99. The L4 maximizer that we're about to talk about here is $49.99. I've got links in the show notes and prices there too, or at least prices as of the day we're recording. But things change,
and there will be Black Friday deals.
They are already saying you get Black Friday deals, 30% off your second plug-in. That's already live. So yep. Exactly.
There's always a sale. Waves is always a sale, and they have a subscription model that gives you every plugin they have if you really want to do that. But all
right, I'm turning off Silk on you because I got to turn on the L4 maximizer now that we're talking about it. So talk about this.
So maximizing is basically when you hit a target loudness, that's the perceived volume versus the actual decibels of whatever's coming out. And traditionally, particularly in pop and dance music, you can create the feeling of loudness, that pumping, driving feel, and overdo it in some cases by using a threshold that forces all of the levels up to hit a ceiling, not too unlike certain types of compression. But this is more about limiting and overall volume.
Okay.
For years in radio, people were over compressing songs. So
it sounded terrible.
If you heard a commercial that got super, super loud. So there's this thing, the LUFS rating. We've talked about this on the show certainly before, but your LUFS rating is in terms of what your loudness is and how it's measured. So for podcasts, for YouTube, for whatever, there's a number. It's usually -12 or -14, consistent, what they call the long LUFS.
Okay.
Now, in addition to this L4 being the next generation for Waves, and because it sonically is so dramatically improved in the way it responds, and there is no discernible latency at all.
I should point out, I put the Silk Live on my mic here. I have it on right now. And just to point out, I am noticing no latency from Silk Live, and I tested the L4 maximizer earlier, and like I can talk, and I'm not slowed down by hearing my voice late or anything like that. That's Silk Live.
You've talked about that several times over the last few weeks. Like
it's super important. Yeah, it sucks when you. Yeah, it's great. It's table stakes. Yes. So
in this case, this can be used for a snare. It can be used for all kinds of things as a maximizer. But on your master bus or in the studio for mixing, what this does is not only is it faster, smarter, and sound better, but having the LUFS meter built in then eliminates the need for a separate LUFS plugin, which adds further taxing on the processor and all that stuff. And so let's say your setting for YouTube is a -14 constant, -14 long LUFS. You can then set your ceiling at, 0.1, 0.2, bring your threshold. But instead of your attenuation should never be more, in my personal taste, between 2 and 6 dB as your attenuation level. If you go, I like it maybe 3, just enough to sort of kiss it, because I like the mixes to sound open and dynamic. For certain kinds of music, you're not doing that.
So we shouldn't do it like 90s rock and here. Hang on, as you're talking,
don't go by eye. Never go by eye.
So you just heard Dan distort, and that's because I pulled the ceiling down and really started crunching this thing. But that's an effect if you want that. That's right.
Right. Yeah. If that's what you're going for. In this case, when you take a mix, and we'll circle this around, if you're hitting your LUFS target at, let's say, -12, which I think is Apple Music's.
I just kicked target. Dan. I just kicked this in with the smooth impact preset for Dan, so you can hear him on that. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're hitting your -12 and everything's sounding cool. Okay, that you have a good spot for where your mains are coming out. Now, this is a wonderful thing. Let's say that you have done all these things that we've talked about. You have your performer, and you have your plugins and all this stuff that we've been talking about. And you get everything set up, and you're sending it to your DAW, right? And you're using Logic or Ableton or whatever it is that you're using to record these shows one-to-one. Every input has its own channel, and you're recording. Again, you want hardware that'll support this. All good, right? If you go then back and you take all that stuff and you remix your show, and then I make this the last piece in my output when I remix a show or virtual a show, everything opens up. Everything.
I use a maximizer on the podcast. Right. Yeah. It is one of the last things in the chain. I use a piece of software. I mentioned it called Sounddesk. Sounddesk has their own plugins, which are zero latency and zero. It doesn't use any samples to do it because it's all built in, and their maximizer works great for the type of thing that I do here. But it makes such a difference. I'm trying to see if I can turn it on or off. So if I turn it off now, I mean, I don't know that you'd notice, but because I'm using it subtly. But it glues it all together, right? And I think that's the benefit of using a maximizer at the end of your chain, like you're saying here. Yeah,
it's magic. All right, so let me just in the interest of time, let's do this. So, in this family of Silk and L4 and all this stuff, in these AI plugins, Waves has also Curves AQ, they have Curves Equator, and they have IDX. All three of which I won't go into. I love them for different reasons. I put IDX before the L4 in my master bus, and I use just 2 dB, just enough to give it a little contour, which is just gorgeous. And all those things are part of that thing. So all that being said, and I want to just talk about the necessary evil that is Waves Tune, because it is wildly abused.
Before we get to Waves Tune, there is an honorable mention that needs to be said here, and I know you had it on your list. We've talked about it on the show before.
Oh yeah,
it's
PSE.
Waves PSE, which is Primary Source Expander. I learned about it from Pooch on this show last year. Pooch does front of house for Iron Maiden, among other things, but that's his sort of most notable thing that he does. And when I asked him about, what's one of your favorite plugins, get nerdy, that he said PSE. Yeah. And what PSE does is it delays whatever you run through it. It is built to eradicate any opportunity for feedback. It's not that it gets rid of feedback. It eliminates the opportunity for it by taking your source. So you put it on a microphone channel, and I've used this here in the studio, and actually had people complain that I had the vocals too loud, like things were too loud here, because there was no risk of feedback. You could just crank it all the way up. It effectively delays what's coming through by about a millisecond. In that millisecond, it listens to what's going in versus what's coming out. And if you're getting what's coming in back in, aka feedback, it removes it. And you just sound like you. And it's amazing. And he used it, his example was when Taylor Swift grabs a vocal mic and runs the catwalk at a stadium and is now standing in the middle of the stadium. And everybody in the stadium, including all the people surrounding her, need to hear her. Right. How do you solve for that in today's world? And PSE for $40 is what you'd use to solve for that.
In other words, if you're getting feedback from having a microphone in front of your loudspeakers,
that's it.
But this is also
works great.
A great thing to have in place of a gate, because it doesn't open and close the way that a gate does. This is an expander,
right?
So it's
softer.
as you described. It's listening. It's responding, as opposed to a door opening and closing or a gate opening and closing. It's a wonderful plugin. I love PSE for lots and lots of things.
It's amazing.
But
like I said, when I used it here, because I recorded with Pooch, and then literally that night I had a rehearsal here. So I was like, I'm just gonna wait. I just put it on every vocal channel and cranked him. I was like, I can't get feedback. This is great. We were about 2 songs in. Everybody's like, do you know how freaking loud it is in here? I was like, let me take my ears out. Hang on. It's like, I'm sorry. Let's bring the vocals down.
No, great.
Which is great. That's a good problem to have. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
All these things are great tools to have when you use them just until they become audible.
Yes.
That's the thing to remember with all of these things. It doesn't matter any of them. As soon as you hear the effect, A/B it to make sure it's giving you what you want, and then you can. It's very easy to get sucked down the rabbit hole of well, more must be better then, and it's not. It's not. It should sound like
unless
there's
that's the effect that you want, which is a whole different application. Right. Yes, exactly.
We can have a whole conversation about when you.
But if you're using it to accurately reproduce and perhaps add a little sparkle to the performance that's happening on stage, then what you just said is would be my same advice, which is turn it into you hear it and then kill it. Just like I do with the reverb on the show. Although I did not record this episode with reverb, but that's my fault. But usually I add a little bit of reverb. Actually, it's not. You don't want to double reverb anything. And when I pre-record the ads, the ad for GigSalad I did live in the show. It's just like part of the thing. But I recorded an episode right before this, and right before that, I pre-recorded the ads. And what I've learned is if I don't turn off the reverb and I record the ad with reverb and then I play it back into the show with extra reverb, it starts sounding really, some of you call me out on it. And so I muted the reverb to record the ads and I never unmuted it. So I'm not going to do that in the middle of the show. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to mess with anybody's brains any more than we already have.
You've messed with all the plugins in my voice.
I know.
But you don't want to change that.
No, I messed with it on my voice too. I put the plugins on me. But like, what the reverb does, it's the same thing. It just kind of glues it together. But I add it and then I pull it down until it's barely audible. It's like, okay, that's all I want. I don't want to create a cavern. I just want to put us in the same room, even though we're, 1,800 miles apart or whatever. So,
yeah, exactly. All right. All that said, and we traditionally we always go way long, so I want to make sure we get to everything here.
Well, we will have you back. This will be the end. What with the plugins, it will be the end of what we talk about today, and then we'll have you back to talk about other things.
All cool.
Yeah.
All cool. So a lot of people want pitch correction vocally.
Sure.
They want it in clubs. They want it wherever. There are foot pedal pitch correction. There are all these things. Waves Tune in its current version, in the most recent version, which is about the best one so far, although the next one I understand is going to be mind-blowing. They make improvements as they go. Some jumps have been better than others, but I spent an extraordinary amount of time coming up with a formula is not the right way, an approach to using Waves Tune in such a way that you can't tell that it's being used, because again, your brain hears things, emotions, like if you see a little kid and you say, "Did you eat the cookies?" and they look at you with a completely blank face and say, "I didn't eat any cookies," and
they ate the
cookies because your brain perceives that thing in their voice. You don't want to remove the emotion. You don't want to remove the information that a vocal will give you. So Waves Tune, if it's
I put Waves Tune on you while you were talking here. Now, obviously, it's not built to be used on someone who is speaking. Although, again, effects are effects.
Right.
It gave my brain, and I'm sure listeners heard it. I had it on for maybe 5 seconds and then turned it off. It made my brain hurt. Like I turned it on and like cranked it up. Yeah, obviously, because I want to hear the effect. And I couldn't articulate what was wrong with your voice, but it didn't have that warbly sound like overly used auto-tune.
It's fighting.
It was fighting it. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but using it less would have been fine. Yeah.
So here's the thing: in when you're using Waves, Super Rack, or Performer, or whatever, you're going to set your scene for whatever key you're in. So you go to Waves Tune, we're doing a song in A, whatever it is. You can set it for chromatic, you can set it for minor, diminished, whatever you want in terms of that. But a little goes a long way, unless you're going for the, a real hip hop effect, or you want to sound like Cher or whatever.
Sure.
But a little goes a long way. In the most recent build, which is faster and more reliable, you have key detection. It shows you what you're doing. The meter shows you how sharp or flat the singer is, which can be really eye-opening as an engineer.
Keep that information to yourself, unless asked for it.
That's attorney-client privilege right there, or engineer-client privilege right there.
I like that.
But when you get it and you get it right, my suggestion is that you use a little more correction on your background singers, assuming they don't sing lead.
Yes.
And let your lead singer sing the way they do. And you just take the edge off. Let it be natural, not the key, the actual sound.
I knew what you meant.
And let it do what it does. And when I've seen people say, "Oh, we're only going to correct it 80%." In this case, no. If you set it to the way that I do it myself, is I like a faster approach. I make sure my tolerance is not like they show you presets off. I like, 3 and 6, 3 and 5, something like that. And then your note transitions, depending on the song, depending on what you're doing, depending on the singer, you can adjust that, because if somebody does vocal runs, obviously your transitions are going to be faster.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If you're setting it to the timbre or the range of the vocalist, Waves Tune lets you set alto, soprano, tenor, baritone, whatever. Most people leave it generic. I go either way on that. Sure. But a lot of times what I will do, depending on the act and depending on who's singing, if I'm mixing front of house, I will use chromatic, which is not telling it what key it's in.
Right.
And I will give it a more relaxed approach, so that it just massages in a few little spots as needed. Now, does it always work? No, it doesn't always work. But it's a good.
It's better for it, in my opinion. Again, for the desired use case, it's better for it to err on the side of not kicking in than kicking in too much and taking the life out of a performance. Yep. I like your idea about putting more of it on your harmony singers, and like that can be very helpful. And I would even argue that you might want to put it on the channel such that they hear back in their ears the tuned thing. I've done this in the studio recording people, not live.
No, because it alters your the way you set your own pitch.
I could see that.
It's a dangerous practice.
I've done it do it. I've done it in the studio to help build singers' confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm recording the actual thing, right? But giving them back a little bit of that. But when I can see we're live.
Based on what they're hearing,
that's fair.
It'll conflict with their head voice.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I do like the idea of using a little more of it on the harmony vocals, so you get that nice sort of chimey thing happening for the when I can't tell you harmonies. Who it is,
but there's a very, 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 very famous singer who has a wonderful group of background singers who have reached an age where you want a little help occasionally.
You and I have never had this conversation before. I am certain I know who you're talking about, because I remember hearing it at a concert that I saw at CES, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Nothing.
Just because I don't want to put you in a strange position. I'm happy to tell my listeners who it was, who I think it was.
The person who was the singer is still magnificent and sounds powerful and everything else, and that's been left alone. And I went because I was standing in front of the house. Yeah. And it works. It works great. It just works. And you don't, again, you certain things have to be a given, and background vocals are one of them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And by the way, one of the things that I do like about Waves Tune is when someone is speaking, it doesn't alter it doesn't sound like they're trying to pitch correct it. It doesn't sound great, but you can leave it on.
You can leave it on in between songs. Yeah. Yes.
To, yeah.
I could see that working totally fine. Yeah.
Pretty cool though. Anyway, so that's it.
I at the risk of going too long, I do want to ask one question that's related to all these plugins, and only because it came up on the episode last week that I know you haven't heard yet because I recorded it 45 minutes ago or whatever it was. Have you used anything to do auto mixing of a live band, and is the technology there yet? Is it getting there? As quickly as you could possibly answer something, which I realize is
yes.
Okay, thanks. Perfect.
No, is the technology there yet? No, I used it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not there yet. I think it'll get there. I mean, it's just a matter of time, right?
It's like autonomous vehicles,
Yes.
The real thing, and in all seriousness, is I was there quite a few years ago before Line 6 got sold, and I heard their first self-mixing system, and it was awful. It was a great idea. It was a wonderful idea.
Oh, it's a great idea. Of course it is. Yeah.
But there's no accounting for taste and style and feel, and there's a certain intuition to mixing that is a different kind of listening, as you know, and anybody who listens who mixes, and something that Scovill taught me years ago, actually, is, and to put it in its simplest terms, is to pay attention. Like, in its simplest terms, I won't bore you with the whole thing, but really, if you have that connection to the music that you're listening to, and you become aware in a way that lets you actively be involved in how the sound is reacting and the room is reacting to the sound.
Yes.
It gives you something that no amount of AI will do, even the most responsive. And we'll get there to make it livable, for Disney purposes and things like that.
Well, I think where auto mixing will hopefully find a home is for the bar band that doesn't travel with a front of house engineer. They do what I call the Braille mix now, where you just set the faders and forget it, and hopefully it sounds good, right? Like in those scenarios, like to me, that's where auto mixing, we need to put it first, because it as long as it's set to do no harm, right? It can't be worse than just leaving the faders where they are.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm eager to see it come into play. All right. Thank you. We're not going to hit the longest episode ever. I've committed to myself that with the one we did with Brad Maddox over the summer is we've done
some long episodes though. Yeah. I'm happy to not be the longest episode.
You were for a little while.
I know I was. I know.
I think you are the most frequent guest. I believe this is your 9th appearance.
Is it really?
Gig Gab. Wow. I believe so. Yeah. Because we had you on quite a bit when Paul and I were doing the show too, and then obviously since then too. Where can people find you, my friend?
Find me at danieleast.net.
Okay.
Is my music page, although it is in dire need of an update.
Aren't they all?
Well, no, it's in a good way. I'm thrilled to have to update it, and I need to do that. And then on socials, at East D is my music stuff, and at the Mix Doctor is my mixing live sound stuff.
Amazing. Thank you for coming on the show. The Mix Doctor himself, folks, Daniel East. You know what I'm going to ask you to do, so will you please just do the thing so that we can get out of here? Yeah.
Of course, and I'll never live down screwing it up the first time either.
It's on tape. We've got it for you. You can go listen if you like.
I know you do. It was fun. Thank you for not including it in the anniversary episode as well.
Yeah, I should have. That's true.
No, you shouldn't have. It's fine. We're good.
Now it's in my head.
But yes, absolutely. Always be performing.
Love it. Thanks for coming, Dan. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. I don't know who the guest is next week. That's part of the beauty of being Dave, I guess. So
I could be back.
We'll have fun. It could be. That's entirely possible, you know. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week. Later. And we're out. Thanks, man.